You might think the most remote place in America is some snowy mountaintop in Alaska, or maybe a dry stretch of desert in Nevada. But no. The most isolated community in the United States lies deep inside the Grand Canyon, where there are no roads, no cell service, no internet, and where mail is still delivered by mule. This is a place that most Americans have never even heard of. To get there, you have to hike over 10 miles through scorching canyon trails. No cars, no shortcuts. And at the end of that trail, tucked beneath towering red cliffs and beside turquoise waterfalls, lives a Native American tribe that has called this land home for over 800 years. Today, we're going to explore one of the most secluded places on Earth, a hidden village in the heart of the Grand Canyon, where a people known as the Havasupai continue to live much as their ancestors did, far away from the modern world. And trust me, their story is unlike anything you've ever heard. Hidden deep within the rugged layers of the Grand Canyon in northern Arizona lies a village so remote, it's nearly untouched by the modern world. This is Supai Village, home to the Havasupai people, and it holds the title of the most isolated community in the entire continental United States. Supai isn't just hard to reach, it's intentionally unreachable by modern standards. There are no highways, no trains, not even a single paved road leading to the village. To get there, you must begin at a remote trailhead known as Hualapai Hilltop, and from that point, it's a 13-kilometer hike, about 8 miles, descending steep canyon paths and winding through sun-scorched desert terrain. There are only 3 ways to reach Supai. On foot, trekking for hours under the punishing Arizona sun. By mule, which is how mail and supplies still arrive, a method almost forgotten by time. And for the lucky or wealthy few, by helicopter, though even this is limited and weather-dependent. The journey isn't easy. The canyon walls tower above you, the path narrows, and as you walk, an eerie silence surrounds you. There are no cars. No phone signal. Often, not a single soul in sight. Just the wind brushing the cliffs and the crunch of your footsteps on red dust. It's harsh. It's desolate. But that's exactly what makes Supai feel like another world. The Havasupai people, whose name translates to people of the blue-green water, are one of the most isolated and historically rooted Native American tribes in North America. Their identity is inseparable from the brilliant turquoise waters of Havasu Creek, which flows through the bottom of a remote branch of the Grand Canyon. This stream, fed by natural springs, doesn't just define their homeland, it sustains it, shapes it, and gives it a name. For more than 800 years, the Havasupai have lived in this deep, rugged canyon, long before roads, maps, or modern borders existed. They built a life surrounded by towering red rock walls, lush vegetation, and the sound of falling water echoing off canyon cliffs. Their presence in the canyon dates back centuries, rooted in oral traditions and archaeological evidence, marking them as true guardians of the land. The Havasupai are a small, tight-knit community, historically semi-nomadic, yet deeply tied to the canyon. Their way of life has long centered on the resources provided by the creek and the surrounding land. The clear, mineral-rich waters of Havasu Creek irrigate the narrow strips of farmland in the valley, where the Havasupai have traditionally grown crops like corn, beans, squash, and sunflowers. These crops are staples in their diet and culture, passed down through generations with knowledge about planting cycles, flood patterns, and seasonal shifts. Hunting and gathering also formed part of their traditional subsistence. In earlier times, the Havasupai would travel up from the canyon floor to the surrounding plateaus to hunt deer, gather wild plants, and engage in trade with neighboring tribes. Despite the harsh and arid landscape of the region, the Havasupai developed a deep ecological knowledge, understanding where to find water, how to navigate cliff trails, and how to survive in a place most would consider uninhabitable. Their isolation, once a necessity for survival, has also served as protection. While many other tribes were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands, the sheer remoteness of Havasu Canyon made it difficult for outsiders to reach or claim. Over time, this helped the Havasupai preserve aspects of their language, traditions, and daily rhythms that might have otherwise been lost. Even today, Supai village remains one of the few places in America where an indigenous community lives in the same land as their ancestors, speaking their native language and drawing from ancient customs. The connection between the Havasupai and the water that flows through their home is not only physical, it's spiritual. The blue-green water is more than a source of life, it is sacred, flowing through stories, songs, and ceremonies. The falls and creek are seen not as features of the land, but as living presences, witnesses to generations, symbols of purity and continuity. Life in Supai village, the home of the Havasupai people, is unlike anywhere else in the United States. Here, in a world carved deep within the Grand Canyon sandstone walls, time seems to move differently. The village is quiet, cradled by nature, untouched by the hum of highways or the glow of city lights. But with that peace comes a degree of isolation that most Americans today can hardly imagine. There is no supermarket in Supai. No gas station. No shopping malls. No street lights. Not even a road. The only path in or out is by foot, mule, or helicopter, with the nearest road ending over 8 miles away across sun-scorched desert and switchback trails. Everything the community needs, food, tools, medical supplies, and mail, must be carried in on the backs of pack animals or flown in by air when conditions allow. There's no delivery truck pulling into town. There is no drive-through dinner or convenience store soda. Life moves on a different scale here, one that relies on planning, patience, and perseverance. Communication with the outside world remains just as limited. Cell phones do not work in the canyon, there is no signal to be found beneath those towering cliffs. Even landline internet, where available, is slow and unreliable, prone to interruptions during storms or outages that may last days. In many cases, handwritten letters are still the most dependable form of communication, a quiet reminder that in Supai, the pace of life is still set by human hands and distant echoes, not digital pings. For the children of Supai, education means distance. There is a small school within the village for younger grades, but as students grow older, they must often leave the canyon to attend boarding schools far from home. Many Havasupai teens live hundreds of miles away during the school year, returning only during breaks or holidays. It's a painful trade-off. Seeking knowledge means leaving family, community, and culture behind, even if only temporarily. For a child raised among waterfalls and canyon trails, adapting to cities and dormitories far from home can feel like entering another world. In this secluded space, the rhythms of life are shaped not by the clock, but by natural cycles. The rising sun casting light over canyon walls, the seasonal flow of the creek, the arrival of mail on the back of a mule. Community members rise early to tend to gardens, care for animals, or help manage the delicate systems that keep the village functioning. There is a sense of interdependence here, neighbors know each other, elders are respected, and shared responsibility is part of daily survival. Yet make no mistake, isolation doesn't mean inactivity. Life in Supai requires strength, both physical and emotional. Every small task, from getting clean water to receiving a package, takes effort. But with that effort comes something rare, a profound connection to the land and to one another. The challenges are real, but so is the pride in living where few could, and where many have, for centuries. Can tourists visit this isolated tribe? Yes, you can visit Supai, the home of the Havasupai people, but only if you're truly prepared. Supai is not a tourist attraction in the traditional sense. It is not a place for casual travelers, nor for those seeking instant gratification. It is a living community, a spiritual homeland, and one of the last places in America where the people, not the outside world, set the terms of entry. First and foremost, you must have a reservation. And securing one isn't easy. Spots are extremely limited and must be booked months in advance, sometimes even a full year ahead. The tribal government tightly controls the number of visitors allowed at any given time. Why? Because preserving the land, the water, and the peaceful life of the village matters far more than making a profit. The Havasupai have lived in harmony with their sacred canyon for over 800 years, they have every reason to protect it. Getting there is not for the faint of heart. Once your reservation is confirmed and tribal permission is granted, your journey is just beginning. You can't drive to Supai. There are no roads leading to the village. You must hike over 13 kilometers, about 8 miles, one way through scorching canyon terrain, carrying everything you need on your back, or pay for a pack mule to help transport your gear. There's no luxury lodge waiting at the end of the trail. Only campsites or simple accommodations, and the sense that you've stepped into another world. Visitors are expected to bring their own supplies, including food, water, camping gear, and waste disposal items. This is not glamping. There are no vending machines. No showers. You are a guest in someone's ancestral home, and that comes with responsibility. And while you're there, rules must be followed. No random filming. No drones. No intrusive photography. The Havasupai people are incredibly proud of their culture, but they are also fiercely protective of it. Their stories, their ceremonies, their daily lives, these are not tourist exhibits. You may be asked not to photograph certain areas or people at all, and those requests must be respected without question. Respect isn't optional. It's the foundation of being allowed into Supai. You are not just visiting a beautiful place, you are entering a sovereign native land, and that comes with an expectation of humility. What may seem like an Instagram-worthy moment to you could be a sacred space to them. Those who do make the journey and follow the rules often describe the experience as life-changing. But it's important to understand, you're not entitled to this visit. You're invited. And only if you approach it with patience, preparation, and profound respect. Why do they remain so isolated? The isolation of the Havasupai people is not a consequence of poverty, lack of development, or abandonment by the outside world. It is a choice, an intentional and deeply meaningful one. In an era when the internet connects almost every corner of the globe, the Havasupai remain tucked away in the depths of the Grand Canyon, hours from the nearest road, unreachable by car, and without modern infrastructure like supermarkets, gas stations, or cell towers. And yet, they are not disconnected, they are simply unplugged, by design. Why do they choose this life? First, it is about protecting a way of life that has endured for centuries. The Havasupai are not relics of the past. They are living, breathing examples of cultural continuity. Their traditions, language, farming techniques, ceremonies, and relationship with the land, have survived through generations because they were never traded in for convenience. They still draw water from the blue-green streams. They still plant crops in the same soil their ancestors tilled. They still walk the same trails carved by footsteps long before European contact. Second, they are defending their homeland from exploitation. Tourism, commercialization, and industrial development have swept across many native lands, sometimes bringing economic gain but often at the cost of cultural erosion and environmental damage. The Havasupai have seen what happens when sacred spaces become Instagram backdrops, or when ancient rivers are dammed and diverted. They've chosen a different path, one where preservation comes before profit. To the outside world, Supai may look like a forgotten place. But to the Havasupai, it is sacred. Every drop of turquoise water, every canyon wall, every whisper of wine through the cottonwood trees tells a story. Protecting this landscape isn't just about environmental stewardship, it's a spiritual responsibility. Third, their identity is non-negotiable. The Havasupai don't just live in the canyon. They are of the canyon. Their name means, people of the blue-green water, a title that speaks to both place and purpose. Their isolation is not rejection, it is reclamation. In choosing to remain apart, they are reaffirming who they are, on their own terms. And perhaps most importantly, they are not poor. They have access to resources, governance, education, and outside knowledge. What they lack in material wealth by Western standards, they make up for in self-sufficiency, community resilience, and cultural richness. Choosing not to modernize in the conventional sense is not ignorance, it's wisdom rooted in values. What struck me most about learning the story of the Havasupai wasn't the physical isolation. It wasn't the 13-kilometer hike, or the absence of roads, stores, or cell towers. What truly stunned me was the peace. The confidence. The quiet strength in the way they live. In a world that's obsessed with speed, noise, and constant change, here is a community that has chosen slowness, silence, and permanence. And in doing so, they haven't fallen behind, they've stood still while the rest of the world spun itself into chaos. Many of us are searching for something: authenticity, meaning, a return to simplicity. We read self-help books, try mindfulness apps, and take weekend retreats to disconnect. But for the Havasupai, that state of balance and rootedness has never been lost. It is woven into the fabric of their lives, handed down through centuries, shaped by canyon stone and flowing water. They are not just survivors of history. They are its caretakers. Living proof that tradition can endure, not as a museum piece, but as a vibrant, daily reality. And so I leave you with this thought. The world grows louder by the day. But somewhere, deep in the heart of the Grand Canyon, a small tribe still lives as their ancestors did, walking the same paths, drinking from the same spring, and rising with the sun, not to chase progress, but to live in harmony with it. And they smile. Every single day.